The vlog is back. I guess this is episode 2. Welcome back, everybody. The comments in my last episode have informed me I made a terrible mistake doing the shower pan and the drain in my last episode. Long story short, whenever I used silicone installing this part of the drain flange, I completely blocked the weep holes and the drain's ability to pull water and moisture away from the mortar bed. But do not worry, I can fix that.
I can fix that.
Yes, that is a holes reference. Okay, here we go. The first thing I did was use a Sharpie to mark the depth of the shower liner. I didn't want to cut into it while I was scoring this mortar around the drain. I'm going to eventually chisel this away, but the idea is to score some cracks into it, and those will be breaking points that we can work with. The first set of lines that I scored into the mortar weren't very deep. I just wanted to test this theory, and once I knew that it was going to work, I scored deeper lines, still not all the way down to the shower liner. I used the chisel to break all of that out. Around the drain's weep holes, there's just pea gravel that's loose. So once I broke up the mortar, it actually cleared up really nicely around it, and I was able to unscrew the drain successfully. Now that the collar is exposed, you can see how there's no way for the water to get through that silicone and drain through the weep holes. There's also these grooves on the bottom of the piece that serve to pull moisture to the drain as well, and those were totally clogged. Once it was cleaned up, I could put this piece back into the drain and screw down those bolts, holding everything together. Like the comment said, this was a huge rookie mistake, but so far, so good. I was able to screw the drain back in, and now it's time to get ready to patch that mortar. First, I added some pebbles around the drain and weep holes, and then I mixed up some more of the mortar bedding mix. I packed this mortar in by hand at first to make sure it really embedded into all the corners and negative spaces with the existing mortar bed. Then I compacted everything with my trowel to ensure it was really in there. The slope was already established, and so I just matched the existing one, and that brought me to the right height on the drain. To double check everything, I grabbed a sheet of the tile I'm going to be using, and what I'm looking for is the tile to sit just above the drain so that the water always falls into it. Oh, dang it! And there it is, patch complete, very relieving. I was really nervous to try that. I did not want to puncture that waterproof lining, and I'm so happy that I didn't. So we've given this new mortar 24 hours to cure, and now it's time to do a water test. We're going to be making sure that all of these weep holes are functioning and our slope is draining properly. Here we go. Once the water is high enough, it should drain through the actual drain, but then after that, it'll have to use the weep holes. The water went to the height of the drain pretty quickly, that makes sense. So I set up a time lapse on my camera and you can see how it goes through the weep holes and eventually drains. Awesome, totally drained. The original install on this mortar bed might not have been, but at least this repair is 1-800-SUPER-PRO. Some of y'all commenting were brutal, but I do appreciate the constructive criticism from people that let me know I was doing that wrong. I really guess that's one upside of documenting all of this work. Some of y'all thought it was crazy I was even doing a traditional mortar bed rather than some kind of Schluter system. And to me, this wasn't about saving money. I think I saved a little bit on material costs, but I for sure lost a lot of time doing this method. Ultimately, it just seemed like the best move with the custom layout with the drain being a little bit offset. Some of the rudest comments, though, were saying that it was stupid for me to install a mortar bed to begin with because they're so prone to failure. I totally understand that considering I made a mistake. But I fixed that, and assuming this install is correct, this should be a lifelong waterproof system. And the idea of it failing if you do the install wrong really applies to both scenarios, whether you do a prefab waterproof system or a traditional mortar bed. So anyways, long story short, I appreciate the comments. I'm really happy that you guys caught me, and I'm really happy we didn't damage the waterproof liner. And really quick, I've got to run some wire up in the attic for a couple of plugs I'll have in the future that need to feed through the exterior shower wall to our breaker panel. These through ports go through the brick wall and then into this transfer box where I'll pull the wire through. I had one wire coming up from under the house and then two coming up from the attic. I folded these up and I'll get to all of this later. But I want to stay focused on this shower for now. A lot of you all probably remember how the electrical panel used to be on that interior wall where the wires are now feeding through. And moving this out here allowed us to turn a half bath into a 3/4. And if I or a future owner wants to do more electrical expansion, they'll just have to run another piece of conduit up through the soffit, just like this electric meter has conduit going up as well. I feel like that's enough electrical for now. Let's get back in the bathroom and finish up this shower. I just finished a rough install of our shower system to check the offset from the studs. I'll use 1/2-inch backer board along with tile about this thickness. If I place this back here, you can see that it's just extending too far from the wall, but that's no problem. I've got 3 different lengths of these 3/4 inch extensions, and one of these should give me the right offset, and I think it's this one in the middle. I screwed this little template to the wall so I wouldn't have to hold it. Then I removed the 1/2-inch to 3/4 inch adapters that came with the shower before putting in these spacers. I tightened these down and aligned them in the same way that they will be for the shower install, and then threw on the collars. Next, I could tighten down the shower kit and make sure that it was really secure, because we're also going to be doing a leak test in just a second. But first, let's double check the depth we're at. That's perfect. And now, let's do a leak test. Water's on. Okay, that looks good. No leaks. Awesome. I ended up running a few 5-gallon buckets worth of water through this system to make sure that my PEX connections didn't leak at all. And this is where I thought, plumbing complete. I think the rest of this vlog is gonna be me prepping the shower for cement board. And the first thing I'm gonna take care of is a little bit of additional framing. I cut these 2x4s with my speed square to make sure that they were square on the ends, and I'm using these just to beef up the wall where I'm gonna have my glass shower door. I wanna make sure that I've got studs to screw into behind the tile and not do some kind of anchor or anything like that. And I think that looks good. A lot better, at least. And now this, I'm excited for. It's a prefab shower niche that basically has built-in metal trim. You'll see in just a second. So with this niche, the tile comes right up to this metal border, but you don't have to install trim anywhere on the inside because this is black finished stainless steel. This should make install really easy, but give a super clean and modern look. This is the only spot that I've got a full 16-inch spacing on studs. That's an interior wall with nothing in the way, and this is gonna look awesome, I think right there. This blocking is gonna give material for both the niche and the fiberboard to screw into, so it's pretty important. I also wanted to reinforce this middle stud where I had to cut away a little bit for the plumbing to fit properly before I went back into the kitchen and I applied a coat of silicone around the niche on the back. I did one on the inside and the outside edge. It ended up fitting perfectly into the frame we built. I made sure everything was level after I got one screw in, and I was surprised it only had one screw on each corner. Some of the original insulation had deteriorated a lot and fell out during the demolition of this shower area, so I'm just replacing it in a couple of places. I split this piece lengthwise so that I could staple it and work around this vent pipe that's going through the wall. I then taped it closed. I did a custom cut on the next piece so that I could work around the wire going through the wall. I wanted to sandwich half of the insulation between the wires and the exterior wall where they were ran, but then I wanted the other half of the insulation on the interior side. This worked great. I stapled everything in place and we were ready to keep moving along. Another very valid, critical comment that I got was people saying that I didn't put any nail plates around the wires going through the studs. This is designed to make sure that whether you're installing fiberboard or drywall or anything else, you don't put screws or nails through this stud and into a hot electrical wire. And thank you again, comments, on letting me know that. I got larger nail plates to protect the areas around these wires that are feeding through the top plates of the wall and into the attic area, and I think we pretty much got that covered. And I think the last thing that the comments noticed that I need to take care of is the fact that these PEX tubes are sort of floating. I'm gonna go to Home Depot and get some 1/2-inch PEX clamps and then use those to tie this plumbing into the 2x4 studs. And there really is a noticeable difference. You don't want this PEX to be able to wiggle around. We're fully prepared to install our fiber cement board on our walls and waterproof the shower. And that's where we're gonna pick up on the next episode. And the vlog continues. It's been a day or so. I'm working on putting fiber cement board up on the walls. But I just realized when I did a leak test earlier in the video, I was only testing the cold water. Without the hot water heater being plugged in and turned on, I don't think the water is feeding through the hot water line. Basically, the cold side of any faucet will come on, but the warm side doesn't. So we're gonna take a break from the cement board installation and get a plug wired up for the water heater. I'm throwing this 20 amp outlet on the end of a run, and that means it's so easy to wire up because I've only got one set of wires to worry about. I'll throw a diagram on the screen. At the end of the day though, just remember the black wire connects to the gold connector, and then the white wire connects to the silver one, and ground to green of course. All you've got to do is make a little hook on the wire that goes clockwise around your screw. Now it was time to plug the hot water heater in, turn on the water, and hear it kick on. At least I thought. I don't know why it's not turning on. Oh, I've got to install the thermostat. That's why there's no on button. This was easy to do. I grabbed some 18 gauge wire and then I screwed it onto the 2 terminals on the back of the thermostat. Then I was careful to screw this mounting plate on level before attaching the actual thermostat. Wiring was simple on the other end, it's just the 2 screws I needed to connect. I've got my fingers crossed, everything works. I hear it. I heard it kick on, I think. Let's go see if it works. Okay, we've got cold water, and it looks like we've got hot water too. It's not hot yet. I can feel it getting warmer. This has been about 45 seconds. It's all kicked on. I don't know how long it's normally gonna take. We'll see. And now we'll be able to do a legit leak test. I'll get this installed one last time before these cement board sheets and tile go up. Let's go check for leaks. And we have no leaks here in the shower. That's honestly such great news to see. And we can do one final test here to make sure that this is getting up to temperature, which I already should have done. So this is good. The shower system by Lefton is really cool looking. It's got a ton of features and I'll make sure and leave a link down below. I've got nothing bad to say about it. I moved the handle to the hot position and you can see the temperature dial going up. And FYI, this is in Celsius. But then all of a sudden, it started dropping, and so I went back down and took it to the hot position again, and it never warmed up. And now that should make it get hotter. This is just not getting hotter. It keeps getting colder. That's so strange. I'm gonna go to the other shower and make sure the hot water works there. And now here we go, we've got warm water. That only took about 10-15 seconds to get all the way down. Yep, and that's hot too. I really don't know what's going on. And now this is acting funny. The waterfall works really well and it gets hot, but for some reason the water's not feeding over here as well. And then other times, I'll hit it and it works great. Which this really stinks because the things that are working are the ones that aren't from the brand Lefton. And I'm gonna need to get on their website because they were nice enough to send these out to me. And I swear there's gotta be user error. I'll check back. I did some digging and long story short, I'm an idiot. So on Lefton's website for the shower system, down towards the bottom, there's something I should have seen. And it's basically this chart that says what kind of water heater the shower system will or won't work with. When they reached out to me and when I said to send out these products, I didn't know at the time I was going to use a tankless water heater, and I'm assuming that's why it didn't hit my radar. As you can see, anything with water storage works, and basically anything that's tankless or on demand doesn't. I'm assuming it's just how it's digital and regulates the water temperature. I'm not exactly sure, but basically the hot water valves don't seem to be opening. This really feels like a kick in the nuts. I'm happy I'm making a vlog because this reminds me a lot of the first episode I did. Every project is 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and that seems like best case scenario. Sometimes it's 1 step forward, like cement board, and then 2 steps back. Because I'm gonna have to figure out a new shower system and kitchen sink, or I'm gonna have to swap out that water heater. Renovating at times is so much more stressful than woodworking. It's definitely creative in a different way. You don't get to see the same fulfillment as quickly. But more than anything, I'm finding out how much I don't know. But I do want to stay positive and just remind myself I'm learning a lot. And if I make a mistake one time, just please don't do it again. I'm sure there's a low spot in the vlog. I'm gonna go edit and I'll check back tomorrow. I'll come back in the morning with a solid plan, so stay tuned. Don't give up on me. I'm not giving up. I'm down, but I'm not out. I'll see you tomorrow. But first, I'd like to give a big thanks to the sponsor of today's episode, Squarespace. Squarespace is your one-stop shop to build your own website, online store, or just get a custom domain. And now with Blueprint AI, it's never been easier to make a custom tailored website to your brand or business. By simply describing your brand and what you're trying to create, Blueprint AI generates a custom template where you can then customize and edit to make it fit your imagination. The possibilities are endless. Squarespace has enhanced search engine optimization to help customers find you easier. There's no limits to the number of products you can sell, and customers have flexible payment options, including PayPal, credit card, and Apple Pay. And in eligible countries, customers can buy now and pay later with ClearPay and Afterpay. The final feature I want to mention is Squarespace's online courses. Using Squarespace, you can build your course from scratch and then set your paywall, whether it's a one-time fee or a recurring subscription charge. So to learn more, make sure and follow my link down in the description. That's squarespace.com/modernbuilds. And then when it's time to make your site live, don't forget to use my code ModernBuilds for 10% off your first site, store, or domain through Squarespace. As always, I want to give a big thanks to Squarespace for supporting Modern Builds content and you all for watching, especially on these vlogs or the experimental stuff. Let's keep moving. We are back. Earlier today, I went to Home Depot and I picked up a bunch of plumbing connections. And then I stopped by Lowe's when I found a tub and shower kit with a valve I need and a black finish and trim that I really like. We're just not gonna use the tub spout. The game plan is to remove the shower that I've currently got installed on the wall, and then we'll start altering the framing and the plumbing to fit this valve. I had used screws to attach this blocking, so I just took it out. While I was doing this, I also removed this sheet of the fiber cement board just so I could have full access to the plumbing with nothing obstructing it. It's pretty standard for your mixing valve to sit 1.5 inches off the wall. That way you can use 2x4 framing material as your backing. So this is our mixing valve. We connect our hot and cold water and it sends it up to the shower or down to a tub. And the first thing I did was remove the mud guard around the plumbing. That way it would be easier to connect and screw everything together. Like I mentioned, I'm not using the tub spout, and the kit came with a cap. That way you can close this off and basically divert the water always going up. On the other connections, I need to use 1/2-inch PEX adapters. That way we can connect to our existing plumbing. And here I'm just cutting off the old drop ears. And I'm gonna be using these metal PEX clamps on all of my connections. And there should be about an 1/8 inch gap between your clamp and the brass adapter. It's really about time I learned how to run PEX. Basically, this tool ratchets closed and fastens the clamp. Let's give it a try. And it says it won't let go unless it's secure. So that must be secure. Let's go. I followed the same steps for the hotline, and I was excited to see when everything worked out just as well. I think that's perfect. This top outlet or connector is so we can run PEX to our shower head. Now I'm gonna install the blocking for where the shower head goes, and you can see I've attached some 3/4 inch plywood so it offsets a little bit more. And I'm setting this pretty high because I'm doing a rainfall shower head. The center line I wanna use for my shower head is right in the middle of this stud. I should have planned for that, no big deal though. I'll use the multi-tool to carve out a little space for the drop ear. The multi-tool was able to reference the face of the 2x10 really well, and the chisel was able to carve out the material. This worked out awesome. Unfortunately, to get this centered where I want and to have PEX be able to reach it, I needed to rotate this drop ear 90 degrees, and then I'm eventually gonna have to put an elbow leading up. I know that unfortunately having an elbow isn't the best thing in the world for water pressure up here, but we're in a very compact space and I'm doing what I've got to do to make everything work. And I do think everything should work fine, ultimately. And now we'll clamp them down. And at this point, this is becoming fun. Beautiful. I'm really not upset that I ended up having to do all this plumbing. In all honesty, I've been scared of doing any kind of PEX plumbing. That's why you've always seen me use push to connect shark bite connectors. This is the job that I would have called the plumber for, but because I'm on a time crunch and all this does seem relatively simple, I've officially gained a new skill. So that's for sure something to be positive about. And now is the moment of truth. I'm gonna plug the drop ear up there for the shower head, and then I'll turn the water back on for the house. Let's hope third time also is the charm, and we've got no leaks. No leaks yet. It says to turn this counterclockwise, and I heard the water. I'll let this sit for a couple of minutes and make sure there's nothing we notice then, and we'll see what's up. We're still looking great, but I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off and throw on the shower arm just to test everything out for my own confidence. And now water should come out. Hey! It works. So that's cold water. Now let's try hot water. It's getting warm already. I'm gonna use the same spacers as earlier, and this should be somewhat close to flush. That's not quite right. I forgot I needed to remove these brackets. And now without the bracket, if I push this all back, I'm hoping it's flush. Oh, it's perfect. That's amazing. I'm just gonna level this out and fasten it down. The brackets are just there for connecting all your plumbing. I'm basically a plumber now. Even though we're going one step forward, two steps back, and this shower is taking forever, I'm learning a ton. I'm gaining so many XP. Next, I'm gonna slap back on that bottom fiber cement board panel, but the walls and waterproofing this shower is gonna be its own 5-step tutorial video. The vlog continues, and I am so hyped to share with y'all the tile that I chose for the shower. For the floor, I'm gonna be using this really pretty pebble mosaic. I'll add white grout to all of these stones, and it'll just be an awesome natural look. But the tile I'm most excited for is what we're using on the walls. Check this out. It's these large format wood slat styled tiles. I picked these up at the store called Floor and Decor. It's basically like a Home Depot tile section that's the size of an entire Home Depot. They were a killer deal. I'll put the price on the screen because I don't remember off the top of my head. It's honestly just gonna look so cool. I'll use a tan colored grout that matches that wood so all of the seams basically disappear. I'm looking forward to it though. Let me know what you think down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. That way it can get shared to more people and I end up making more vlogs. But I'm only gonna make these videos if y'all enjoy watching them. I wanna give one huge thanks to all of the nice comments and to all of the mean ones that basically hate what I'm doing. I'm trying to learn through experience and that's going to include some mistakes. I think the only problem would be not fixing them, and obviously I'm doing my best at getting the best result. And that includes fixing the mistakes. You already know the rest of the drill though. Make sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure and hit me with those Q&A questions and we'll see you next time on Mike's First Flip. It's Mike's First Flip. I wonder what my neighbors think, because they just see me filming and singing that song, all kinds of stuff. It's wild.